Good evening, Coach Brian here with Northwest Elite Spirit, and today I'm going to share with you a little practice of mine. You can call it my own personal tarot deck. When my grandma had to get rid of a lot of things, she gave me a bunch of old playing cards, and a lot of them had like they were just individuals, they weren't entire decks. And I took those cards and I began making my own personal tarot deck. And I don't use it for prediction, I just use it for ideas to think about for the day. So in the morning I'll draw one, and then I will build ideas around that symbolism, the symbolism that I give it, and I do draw symbolism from, history and other places. And then I go out in the world and I practice it for the day, or at least try to. This is pretty cool because if I practice it today, I can go out into the world tomorrow and that idea will still be in there subconsciously, and so I can keep building on that. Today I drew the water wheel, and so I wanted to talk about my ideas around the water wheel. So from the very beginning, it represents stillness in motion, because though the outer edges are moving, the hub or the center is always still, and it all revolves around that hub. And so there's power in stillness, and there's power in simplicity, elegance in simplicity, and there's a pattern. You have a beginning and an end, but really no beginning and no end, just round and round. It also, in a way, it is a mechanism. So if I were referencing jiu-jitsu or any other martial art, judo, aikido, there is power through simple technique. So you have that simple technique that can generate lots of power. And as far as, say, like jiu-jitsu or aikido, there's a harnessing of that energy that's given to you, be it a fast-moving river system or creek or a slow-moving creek. You're able to harness that power to do whatever it is you got to do. And whether the water is low or high, you're always harnessing that energy to do what you got to do and get done what you have to get done. So in life, you're going to be hit with highs and lows, and it's our job to harness that flow, whether it's high or whether it's low, whether it's rushing in or trickling in. We harness that flow and bring it to the center for us to use as we see fit. And it's not necessarily like you're using the river's or the flow's strength against itself. You're just tapping into it and even returning that energy back into the flow. And you can kind of look at that as like ranking up, or getting your stripes, or even so you have a practice, and you practice and you practice and you practice, and you come around to a new realization, and you build that new realization is still built off that old practice, and you go around again using that same energy, and you come around and you build strength in that center from that. And even though the water is making contact with the water wheel, it never contacts the center. So the center is always still. The center is unaffected by the flow. So even if the water is crashing through, the center is still and calm. So then I kind of go into like the history of like the circle and symbolism of that, just to kind of build some ideas for myself. And circles represent eternity and unity. So like the infinite universe without beginning and without end. And again, I can reference like anything you do, like even if you're a painter, you start off with like these techniques and these abilities, and you practice and you practice and you practice, and you return, you put out all that energy and it returns to the same place, and it just goes round and round, building power in that center. And so this can remind us to always have like a student mind, understanding that there is no end to this stuff, and it goes on and on. Yeah, even in martial arts, you learn something new and you get better and you're better. And if you're studious, you'll never stop learning. And it's bringing that energy to like this moment. You bring the energy from this moment back to this moment. And there's always something necessary that brings you there, right? So you have the flow or whatever it is you're being given, and what's given is necessary to bring you back around to maybe a new realization, a new technique. And so also it's a representation of patterns. So it is just one continuous pattern going round and round. And if we pay attention to ourselves, we will notice that we have patterns. And the patterns seem to always return somewhere. And that can be positive or negative. If it's negative, it'll keep returning until you alter it, right? Let's see, it reminds us that energy is always returned to its source. And ideas work like this. So you have an idea for, again, say a painting, and you try out these techniques, and you have this image in your mind, and the practice or the energy that you receive from this idea will turn this water wheel until your image or the thing you was in your head is delivered back to that moment, and then it goes around again, and you have some new ideas, and you have some new techniques, and it comes around again, on and on. And it can also remind us of the spiral, because like, let's say you're an artist and you're a multifaceted artist, or you pretty much everything. You have an idea, and it goes around, and maybe you've evolved a little bit. Like we said, you learned a new technique, or you had a new realization, and so it's off course. The circle's off course a little bit. It's evolved a little bit, and so it goes round and round in a spiral. And so ideas work like that. Output, return to the idea, alter the idea, on and on in a spiral. It also reminds me of like a map, like you have the or a location, right? You have the circle with the X through the middle, and the middle is the location, and that is, to me, it symbolizes like you are here in this moment. So this is where we are in this moment, and this is the flow we're being offered, and we, or I, can use that flow only in this moment to evolve into something new. So that's my personal tarot practice. Again, not for prediction, but for just coming up with new ideas and taking things out into the world and practicing them. This is just a matter of stillness, being still, channeling what's being given to me, whether it's fast or slow or positive or negative, noticing my own personal patterns and noticing the patterns of the people around me. Like, there's patterns going on around you too. Rise and fall, slow and fast, trickle, rush. And so that's the practice for that particular card so far. I'll build on that. I'll build on those ideas and come up with something new, and again, go out in the world and practice them. Like, say I'm in traffic, stuck. How can I harness that to my personal power? Maybe I can, remain centered and calm and just let traffic flow by and build strength and patience that way. So I'm Coach Brian with Northwest Elite Spirit. Of course, like this, give it a comment. Tell me what you think about the practice. Maybe you have something similar, or maybe you can begin trying something like this. Share it with your friends and subscribe. Thanks a bunch.